I think we really have to look at our relationship with innovation and with industry because it is where good things are coming from. I love academics, but that is not where innovation is coming from. The innovation is coming from the industry because they have the money to do these trials and to do these concepts and see what's going to work. So that's the first thing I would say.
Welcome to the Prospective Doctor podcast, brought to you by Med School Coach. Join us weekly for stories and insights to empower pre-med and medical students to pursue their aspirations of becoming doctors. Hear from physicians, deans, advisors, and industry experts on becoming a standout candidate and what life is truly like in the medical field. Let passion ignite your journey toward residency and becoming a doctor.
Imagine adopting 3 children while in med school, becoming an OBGYN assistant program director, and then breaking into the FemTech industry. Dr. Kate Arnold did just that. On today's episode of Prospective Doctor, we speak with Dr. Arnold about her incredible journey through the non-traditional path to medicine. She is the CEO of FemInnovation, whose mission is to drive innovation, enhance access, and revolutionize modern healthcare for women across the globe. I was fascinated by her passion for women's healthcare and how her journey has transpired into pursuing what genuinely fulfills her. In the face of challenges and societal expectations, her innovative approach is incredibly inspiring to me, and I hope to you too. It's a powerful reminder that with resilience and passion, you can redefine the boundaries of being a doctor.
Before we start, you mentioned that you're a laborist. Can you explain what that is to a student who may be listening or may have interest in going into OB?
So Laborist is working really well for me right now. What it is pure shift work. So I do 5 to 6 24-hour shifts in the hospital. And outside of that, I don't do any clinic. I don't do any patient phone calls. I have no responsibilities when I'm outside of those hours. In those hours, it can be really stressful because I'm on the labor and delivery unit. And so any emergency that happens, like they call code, whatever, and then it's my responsibility to go. And that can be stressful while I'm there, but it's well worth being off when I'm off because I'm sure you've talked to other OBGYNs. That's kind of a rare quality in an OBGYN job or a medicine job in general, I suppose.
I love that you are bringing awareness to the fact that you can be in a field where traditionally, like OBGYNs, like they are on call a lot and they do it's kind of like your life. So I love to say that medicine is a component or a part of who you are, but it shouldn't define who you are. And one thing I love that you also mentioned is we talk about family a lot, and family is important. And a lot of people always talk about with our training, when is the right time to have kids or build a family or do all of the things? Because you're always kind of going through that check mark, I'm going to have to finish these courses. I'm going to have to go and do all of these clinicals. I'm going to have to go to residency. Your life is not your own. So You actually adopted 3 children while in training. Can you tell us about that experience?
I hate it when people ask moms, are you ready? And you're like, no, nobody's ready. Kids are a lot. And so at some point, I think for med students and residents looking for the perfect time, there's never going to be a perfect time. You just have to decide the best time for you, but it's never going to be perfect. So I was in my 3rd year of med school, and kids that I had known for pretty much their whole lives. I met my oldest son now when he was 18 months old. And then the second was 9 months old when I met him. And then I was there when my daughter now was born. I met their mom through a volunteer program. She was a year younger than me in school, had them, and was moving into a home for teen moms to recover from drug addiction. So I met her years and years and years before, and we stayed close. I would babysit her kids whenever I was around, trying to give her a break as a single mom. And then when I was in med school in DC, things fell apart and she relapsed. And so they went into foster care, and she called me and told me, and she was telling me kind of how things were going. And it was the kid's second time in foster care. They'd been in foster care once when she recovered the first time. And then this time they were much older. It turned out that maternal reunification, family reunification was not going to be possible. And so she actually named me as the person to take them. it was a yes for me, but then it was figuring out how to get it done. So Georgetown actually let me do my 4th year of med school in California as all away rotations. And then I had family and friends help while I interviewed for residency. And then I chose Oklahoma because it had a much lower cost of living. It was easy to find cheap housing with good schools, which is not the case on the coasts. And so we moved to Oklahoma, and my intern year was the toughest. I did things just like anything you can to make it work. Like I posted an ad on Craigslist saying that if somebody wanted to live what was basically the dining room, but it had a door, live in the dining room, that they could live there for free if they would just get my kids to the bus stop. So they did that and it worked. And then when I was post-call and home with the kids, we had what we called electronics days, and I would give them access to any electronic in the whole house if they would just let me sleep for like 5 hours. So I ended up marrying my chief, and so life got easier after that. And we have twins now. I don't have to do a lot of the same things. Life is easier with more money and more time. Everything gets easier than an intern with 3 kids. But kids are never easy. It's not, I think there's a lot of raising kids that is the same. So that was a long-winded answer. I apologize.
No need to apologize. I think that our listeners need to hear that. Like, there are so many options out there, and life is going to life regardless of what stage in life you're in. So for that opportunity to present itself with kids that you were so attached to already, like they were already your family. So yep. Of course you were going to figure out what to do. And then as time has progressed, like you found help, you innovated and found ways to incorporate that aspect of your life with your medical life. And that's what's going to happen with everyone, regardless of when they decide to have kids, if they do. And now you're working in FemTech. Can you tell us a little bit about FemTech and why that field is important?
Yes, absolutely. So I think my first exposure to FemTech is always like the younger patients coming in with their period tracking apps, or they're trying to get pregnant and they're showing me like, here's my period and here's when I had sex and stuff. And the thing that stood out to me about it was that the patient thinks like, hey, I've done everything right. Like you shouldn't even need to like ask me any questions. I logged it all here. And then when I open the app, I'm like, where is the information? Like I can't find it. It's not, I'm still having to click on like every day and write down like period started, period stopped. And they're coming in with a lot of misconceptions. So to me, FemTech, which for those of you who don't know, it's just supposed to be like female technology. There's an area called FinTech, which is like financial technology. And so it's kind of a play on that. But anyways, it's generally women's health that's tech-based. And so to me, like our patients are all already using this, right? They're all exploring all the apps, they're downloading stuff, everybody's using it, but the information is not usable for doctors and it's inaccurate. I mean, it is strikingly inaccurate. And so to me, that means that we as doctors need to get involved. Like we just have to step up and be like, you know what, there is good that can be done with these apps and we're going to be a part of it to make it better, because the concept of our patients having access to this information that's less than 50% accurate is going to drive a wedge between us and our patients because they're starting to trust technology. We know that from COVID, right? Like people trust what they see online. And if they're seeing inaccurate things online and then they come into the office and we have to do all the work to undo what they learned on their app, that's not a good spot for us. And so to me, we're at this point where as doctors, we have to say, okay, I understand that these young people are wanting to learn from apps. So let me come in and help make it accurate information so that it's useful for everyone. So that's why I've gotten involved.
Yeah, like I couldn't agree more. Like we're in an innovative space. So even outside of FemTech, like there's the larger umbrella of health technology. And yes, there are, like you said, like devices and apps where you're doing trackers and even like whole EMR systems, telemedicine. We've already know how much that's boomed since the pandemic started. So there are so many opportunities for physicians and other clinicians to give valuable evidence-based input. And we have to do it earlier because a lot of the people who are working in the technology spectrum may have the funds and the capabilities to build all of the things, but they don't have the medical knowledge that we have. And our patients are trusting these devices and other technologies. So we have to work and advocate to make it equitable and to make it easily accessible and honest and full of integrity. Yes. So it's so important, especially in these times, for clinicians to kind of be at the forefront of health innovation. And in terms of women haven't necessarily been involved in a lot of research. Like we weren't even allowed to do it until the 90s, be involved.
Right.
So now we're kind of playing catch up. So it's very exciting that we have this field of FemTech. One thing that I would say is that a lot of physicians are a little afraid to touch the innovative space. They may be a little concerned about like, oh, do they have to leave patient care? Or is this something that's reputable? Or is this just something else to put on my plate? As amongst many other things. And some of those things are very valid. Like you have to have certain licensure in different states and all of these different things. And there are a lot of risks. Are you able to touch on some of the risks that may be involved as people are considering going into health tech or FemTech?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great questions. So I think one thing is that it's really helped me to kind of think through medicine's relationship with innovation and with industry, like you said, because there's like charts that look at, hey, when a new product or a new idea comes out, how quick are different specialties or different disciplines to implement these things and to accept them? And physicians, I mean, we are like the latest, And so it's kind of odd to me because I know, we've all been at conferences and there's some latest and greatest thing and everybody wants it all of a sudden, right? It's like, years and years ago, it was the robot. Now I feel like in OBGYN, it's like the robot with the vaginal surgery combined and stuff. And there's all these things that all of a sudden everybody wants. And I think for some reason, we don't register that those innovations are coming from industry. For some reason, we want to look down on industry, but the toys that we love to play with that we're like, I want that. I want my hospital to buy that. Those are from industry. And they all started out as puny little ideas that needed help. And obviously that's like, 1 out of 100 at best makes it to where we're talking about. But I think we really have to look at our relationship with innovation and with industry because it is where good things are coming from. I love academics, but that is not where innovation is coming from. The innovation is coming from the industry because they have the money to do these trials and to do these concepts and see what's going to work. So that's the first thing I would say. So I think at some point, physicians just have to say, like, this is exciting to me and I want to see where it goes. And you might catch some attitude for it from physicians, but I think it's important to call out that attitude of like, you know what, but I really do think that this is potentially going to help my patients, like just today I was talking to somebody who has a VR headset that's going to do basic mindfulness work for moms who are in the NICU. I mean, I can't provide anything like that. That's a really tough time for a mom. And so I think there's so many areas where this can do good. And so I think we as physicians need to speak a little bit more about that. In terms of what you mentioned with career concerns, some people make the transition and they go full-time FemTech. Like they end up as like a chief medical officer for a company. I would say that's the minority. I would say most people are more looking to it as just kind of something fun and something where you can feel like, gosh, I'm making a difference and my knowledge is doing good. And so I would say most people end up more like the 0 to 5 hours a week kind of thing. And with that, you can make a big difference in a product. So if people are interested, I really encourage them to get involved. We have a FemTech medical consultant certificate, and we actually do have a resident in our program right now. And I'm so excited for her because she's just going to, come out of residency already knowing about this stuff and ready to make that positive impact.
I love that. And I love what you mean about like, a lot of times I think physicians are a little apprehensive about different things because I love to say that we think a little differently than those in tech. So we believe in the scientific method and all of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And they kind of believe in like the design thinking method where you have a problem, they try to figure out some different ways to solve it. And then they want to throw out their first iteration, like the very minimally viable, like risk thing that they can just throw out, test, and keep going. But the thing about that is we can't really test like that with people's lives. So we can't just say, oh, we'll just figure it out after they use it. So we want to think through these things, but we are utilizing technology, like at the conferences, the new cool things are coming. So that's why we need our voice there. And it's really exciting because it's such a newer time. Like you said, traditionally, like in academics, a lot of the stuff in our books takes 10, 20 years of research before it gets in the book. So by the time it's already published, even if it's a new book, it's really old. So they have the capabilities of getting things done quickly. And we're in a time where it's okay. Like if you're coming out of residency and you have a new innovation, or you want to join an advisory board, or you want to kind of dip your toes in the water, like there are so many opportunities out there. There are opportunities, like you said, to get fellowship trained certificates, and there are people popping up with different things every day. So it's definitely something to explore so that you can contribute to the field and then also see some new things.
And I think what you mentioned, earlier, talking about the importance of FQHC work and caring for patients with Medicaid or patients who have limited access to care. To me, some of those doctors, which, is us, but some of those doctors are like a little bit more hesitant to get in. And to me, honestly, it's most important for people who have like that passion for the underserved communities to get involved, because you mentioned telehealth during the pandemic, and I feel like we implemented it and we thought like, hey, this is going to go out to everybody. This will be great. Like anybody who can't make it to clinic because they're too rural, they have transportation issues, they're working like a job that won't let them out for an appointment. Like it'll just fix all of that. And that was like so naive, telehealth still got implemented in a way that exacerbated disparities as opposed to improved them. And so I really think about that a lot with FemTech, that I think the same thing happens really, really often, where you think like, gosh, this is education about fertility. If I just put this out there, it's going to flatten all the disparities and everybody's going to know the same thing. And we know that if you're not paying attention, the opposite will happen, right? The educated will get more educated, and the people who don't know that much about fertility, it won't improve anything. And so we've been really mindful about that and have health equity consultants on our platform trying to really help with that. But physicians who have a mind like that, we need those physicians in FemTech to make sure that this technology decreases disparities instead of increasing disparities. Because if we're not paying attention, it's just going to make it worse.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that. Like we just have to keep doing the work. So with that being said, I definitely appreciate all of your words of wisdom. We're coming almost to a close. And for my last question, since you shared so much about your career journey and how it's evolved over time and all of the different things, if you could start your medical career all the way over from the beginning, what's something that you wish that you would have known?
I would have wanted to be able to filter out people's opinions a little bit more. I felt like there were so many times, like I said, where people said, do family med, or, you can't do this and be that. You can't be a mom and be an OBGYN. I mean, I heard that a lot. Like, why would you want to be an OBGYN? You're just going to get sued all the time. And, those kinds of negative comments got in my head more than I wish they had. And I think I would have had a much easier, more peaceful decision if I had been more confident in filtering out those comments. So I think now what I can do is kind of sit down and say, like, what was actually useful and true of what that person said, and try to let the rest go. So I wish somebody had told me a little bit about that even if you trust and respect someone, if it's bad advice, you can still filter it out.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that may even come from it coming from a good place, but people not
exactly
experiencing what you experienced to tell you those things. So like, for instance, for me, like I've been working in telehealth for 6 or 7 years. So before it was cool.
Wow,
and a lot of people were like, that's not real medicine. Like, don't do that. Don't do it full time. Oh my God. Like, what are you going to do? And now it's evolved into this. So you have to kind of take things with a grain of salt, even like in medicine or healthcare. A lot of our advisors, we may realize or may not realize, most of their experience is in academics. So even in family medicine, like some of my colleagues wanted to open a private practice, and they're like, oh no, don't do that, or don't go work urgent care. Like, don't do that. It's just because they're giving you advice on what they know. And
it's so true.
You can respect them on that, but sometimes you just have to do what's right for you.
It's 100% true. I completely agree.
Yeah. So it was so nice to have you on the show. I'm sure that all of the listeners are going to be sharing this with all of their classmates and their friends because it was such a great episode. I just want to give you an opportunity to tell the audience goodbye, as well as where they can find you.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. I love doing this podcast. I'm always happy to help. I think, like you said, getting that perspective that is not someone who's been in academic medicine all the time can be really useful. So feel free to reach out. Probably the easiest way is just to message me on LinkedIn. It's just Kate Arnold on LinkedIn. But send me a message and I'm pretty good at responding.
If you like this episode, please share it and make sure to subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find me, Dr. Erkeda DeRouen, on Instagram at Dr. DGram, DOCTOR, the letter DGRAM, or on LinkedIn under my name, Erkeda DeRouen. See you guys next week.
Each episode of the Prospective Doctor podcast is brought to you by Med School Coach. To access articles, videos, webinars, and free tools to help you succeed on your journey toward med school and beyond, visit our website, prospectivedoctor.com. We hope you tune in again next time.